Last but not least, we have our cup. So we're going to approach the cup a bit differently to how we made the plate in the bowl. We're going to make it in two pieces. We're going to make the sides of the cup, and we're going to make the bottom, and then we're going to attach those over our cup mold. So first we'll make the bottom, which is the smallest bowl of clay. We'll just roll it, same thickness that we've been working with, pastry sort of thickness, so that's about 3 millimeters in thickness. You can lift it and change it, lift it and change it. Okay. And then you can take whatever cup shape you're working with if you want, or you can draw it by hand, but you can use it, you can trace it to get a circle sort of shape for your bottom, or you can just freehand it as well. So I'm going to start by, I'm going to take the wider part because I want it to fold over the bottom of my mold a bit more easily. And then if you start with too much, you can cut off. But if you have too little, then you've got to start over again. So it's better to start with too much. So I'm just going to take my butter knife and trace around my cup. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a rough sort of trace, because you're going to be pressing the sides of the cup into the base, so it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be sort of roughly the right shape. This time with the cup we want a long rectangular sort of shape, because then we're going to bring it around our mold and fasten it together, and fasten it to the bottom. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, it's the rough kind of shape because we can trim it as we need to trim it. But rather than trying to get equal, got a bit of something in there. If you get a bit of something, like I think this looks like a wood chip to me, but a piece of dirt, just try and pick it out and put that into the bin, because you don't want that. You don't want other things in your clay while you're working with your clay. So lift, try and spread it out just a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, that's okay. We'll trim it to the right shape, but we want to be going long rather than round. And again, same sort of thickness, 3 millimeters, pastry kind of thickness. At this point, if you're not quite sure if you've got enough, if it's long enough, you can take the thing that you're using and just sort of gently set it in and see if it wraps around. So mine just about does. There's some overlap, which is good, but there's also a bit here that there's going to be a gap. So I'm just gonna, I've got some space in this. I'm gonna roll it out a bit more. Even if you have a gap when you're putting it together, take some of those scraps that you've had from the bottom, and I'll show you how you can patch up any gaps that you have. I'm gonna get my cup mold. Another scrap of tea towel, or I don't know if you use hankies to blow your nose or anything like that. This is a very old worn tea towel that I use for lots of other things. But because the cup is smaller, you don't need a great big tea towel for it. You just need a scrap of something. So that's why I'm using this one. So get your bottom, place your bottom on. I think I'm going to go that way. Place your bottom on. At this point, because we're going to be combining things, and you want your clay to stay nice and moist while you're combining, it's not a bad idea to have a little cup of water just to kind of keep the clay smooth and wanting to work a bit longer. I've got some water here for my strawberries, so I'm just gonna, not very much, because if you use a lot of water with clay, the clay goes mushy. So I'm just gonna dab with my finger, and any cracks that kind of start to appear where I'm bending the clay over the cup bottom, because it's being bent, you'll get some surface cracks. That's okay. Just take that water and just smooth it back out again. Bit of a science lesson. Clay is a type of soil, but it's very special. It's got a very special shape to it. Different soils have different shape particles in the soil that make the soil what it is. Clay has platelets, little flat plates that all either work together or they don't. But when you're shaping the clay into a pot, you're getting those clay particles to all line up and go in the same direction. So when I was rolling out that clay piece, I was getting those plates all lined up in one direction. But now that I'm bending it, I'm breaking those plates, which is why you'll see cracks where you're bending it. But as soon as you add water and you start to smooth out the cracks, the plates then go from, sort of breaking to smoothing back out again. So that's what the water does. Here's the side of our cup. With your butter knife, whatever is the, I don't know, longest or straightest edge, I'm gonna go with this edge here. Actually, sorry, we're gonna do short edge, not long edge. This is my short edge. What I'm gonna do, because your cup gets wider at the top and narrower at the bottom, take your short edge, straighten it off a bit with your butter knife. Keep your scraps, squish them up and set them to one side in your bag. Then take your water, just get your bottom edges just a bit damp. We just want them to be a bit sticky, so that they'll receive your edge. Lift your sides and make sure that there's a bit of overlap, maybe a bit less than 1 centimetre, just to kind of have something to squish together. Bring this so you can see a bit better. So I'm just bringing that up. It's overlapping, again, just less than 1 centimetre from the side, the wall of the cup to the bottom of the cup. And you can see that I'm going to have a little gap. That's okay, don't panic. So I'm just lifting it a bit. Just going to combine and lift. If you get a breakage, that's okay. Lift it again and just smooth it together. Then I'm going to bring this wall across. So just smooth that bottom. Smooth, 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 smooth. Your fingers are perfect for this. Just so it sticks nice and tight. The inside of the cup will work later once the cup's a bit harder, leather hard, and we can play with it. For now, we're smoothing that, we're doing the outside. Just get that nice and stuck together, nice and firm. Take your water again, wherever your cup wall is going to close, even though I've got a triangle gap here. Close that wall very carefully. You can get your fingers underneath here and just pinch, 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 pinch. Again, don't worry about the seam on the inside because we'll fix the seam on the inside later. Right now we're just worried about the outside. So close that. There we go. Now I'm going to take some scraps. I've got this triangle here that hasn't closed up. So I'm going to take my scraps and get my rolling pin, pinch them sort of together. Rolling pin. Just going to roll that out. Same thickness, about 3 millimeters. Okay, and I'm going to cut, well, I've got a triangle shape, whatever shape you've got, cut it to that shape but bigger, so that the sides overlap, because you'll get these sides wet with your bit of water, so they're nice and sort of moist and ready to receive the patch. So if you need to, eye it up. Like I've cut one side, so now I'm gonna just make sure that I don't cut off more than I need to. So I'm gonna do the same just on this one. Just, you don't want it sopping wet, you just want it sticky. So push that water in just until it's like just a bit sticky with your finger, because that means it'll stick to your cup surface. And pop that patch on and then gently press it and smooth it. Press, press, press. So we're doing all of this before we trim the cup because it's important to get it as secure as possible. If you have gaps here and there and you're trying to trim off the extra, if the top was going to be the top of your cup, it's going to be really weak and tear and rip in places. So I'm at a table, so I'm getting on my hands and knees to kind of get at this better. Just turn it round and round. Just keep pressing. If you see any cracks, take your water and just dip, dip, dip and smooth it out. Now that we've got our seams all fixed, we'll begin trimming. Keep your scraps. Again, you don't have to worry about it being perfect because later, once the cup is leather hard, we'll come back and we'll smooth any rough edges, fix any bits that are a bit wonky if you want to fix the wonky bits, or you can leave the wonky bits. If you've been keeping yours in water, make sure to get the excess water off, so that they are not slimy on the clay. So I'm gonna start here. If you need to pinch some off, pinch some off. Also, it's a good opportunity if you don't like a seam that you've made, for example, when you're putting the cup together, if you don't like a particular spot, when you press things in, you can put that thing over the spot that you don't like and cover it up a bit. Yeah. So I will make a start on this and cover my little cup. And then we'll move on to the next step. So I've got my cup sort of finished. Started taking some of the plants off. I'll carry on taking these off, and then I'll add my strawberries to the outside, and then we'll set the cup aside and come back to that once it's leather hard. And don't forget to sign the bottom right there. I'm going to do it right now so I don't forget, because I always forget. So, sign my name with my little stick pencil tool. Be careful not to poke all the way through.